Welcome back. Nikki Fried is waging a bruising fight against Charlie Crist to be the Democrat to run against Ron DeSantis in November. She's currently trailing Crist, and so I asked her how she thought Annette Taddeo's exit from the governor's race would help her.
I think what this does is make a very clear one-on-one distinction between, Charlie Crist's, past record as a Republican and my record as a long-term, lifetime Democrat. And I think that, right now, when there's so many things that are on the ballot, between abortion rights, between just human rights, voting rights, LGBTQ rights are on the ballot, and Democrats are looking for somebody that they can trust. And when all of those things are coming into play, we're giving the people of our state a clear difference between leadership styles, achievements, accomplishments, and of course, women are looking for somebody who's going to protect them. And that's why, a one-on-one between myself and Charlie is, something that we have been looking forward to, and we are excited for the conversation.
You've gone fairly negative against Charlie, and I'm just wondering if you're at all worried that in the long run, you're just doing more damage to the Democratic Party and by extension, helping Ron DeSantis in November, should he have to face Charlie?
First of all, people across the entire state have a right to know people's past records. These aren't personal attacks. These are policy differences and the issues that are impacting people of our state today. Whether that is affordability in housing, whether that it is, individuals that are still incarcerated because of laws that Charlie passed. The fact that we have right now a Supreme Court Chief Justice and other members of the court that were appointed by Charlie, which are lifelong impacts on the policies and direction of our state. The people of our state deserve to know those issues. And if Charlie can't deal with me during the primary, $150 million lodged against you will just be icing on the cake. So if he can't stand up for his policies and his record, you better believe that come the general election, it would be an annihilation from the Republican Party. I don't need to expose him to the general, that Republicans will do that. This is an opportunity, and that's why primaries are so important, to hash out these issues, to make sure that the best candidate that represents the Democratic ideals and can win, which is the most important thing to Democrats right now. We've been losing for 28 straight years. We need somebody who's a proven track record and a proven winner and who has been able to take on DeSantis for 3.5 years. And if Charlie, can't deal with that, then he certainly is not ready for prime time against Ron DeSantis.
Let's talk about some of the issues. At a rally this week in South Florida, you said, and I just want to quote it correctly, we need to change the culture of America when it comes to guns. What did you mean by that?
What's happening across the state and across the country is heartbreaking. That we see these mass shootings and see our children selflessly dying, dying in their classrooms, teachers dying. But the problem isn't just these mass shootings. I talk to, mothers all the time who have lost their sons and daughters from gun violence. Every single day I wear these 2 bracelets on my wrist, which is Bullets for Life, attempts to get the bullets off the streets. And what's happened, though, is the culture in our state is glorifying guns. And whether it is, Congressman Stubbe in a hearing last week, showing off all of his guns, to every Republican, feeling like they need to show guns in their commercials and holding up the guns and getting that NRA endorsement. People in the Black communities, just holding out guns. And these are the conversations that I'm hearing on the ground. And so when we talk and sit and say, there's not going to be one fast solution to this, whether it's, banning ARs, whether it is increasing ages or mental health, there's just not one solution. But overall, what it comes down to is we got to take a change in the way that we are viewing guns and the culture of guns. And I make this comparison, and I'm not the first one who's made this comparison. Actually, Manuel Oliver was the first one who, and I had this conversation about this. He's like, Nikki, the reality is that we did this already. We changed the culture when it comes to tobacco smoking. We had the truth campaigns that fundamentally changed how society views tobacco and how we market tobacco. We need to be doing that when it comes to guns in America. And that is, I think, while we start to kind of change the culture, but also start changing the hearts of people. What happened in Buffalo, my God, that you're talking about targeting a Black community because of the increase of hate and racism in our society. And they felt that the solution was taking up arms and gunning down African Americans in Buffalo. And so I think that we need to start changing the conversation, changing the culture, but we also need to be changing the laws to protect the people of our state and the people of our country.
Up until very recently, you had not signed the pledge when it came to banning assault weapons.
My track record when it comes to gun safety is impeccable. From my time when I ran in 2018, and you know this, one of the biggest promises I made on the campaign trail was that if I became Commissioner of Agriculture, I'd be one, kicking the NRA out of my office, which is exactly what we did. And it's ironic that Charlie, of all people, would even attack me on this issue, considering for 30 plus years, he has been endorsed by the NRA, has been touted as their candidate. In fact, even put the head of the NRA in Florida in the Women's Hall of Fame.
That I wanted to go back to this notion of almost what becomes a purity test for Democrats. I mean, you've donated to Republicans, and one in particular, you gave money to Ashley Moody when she ran for Attorney General in 2018. Do you think Ashley Moody has been a good Attorney General? You serve with her on the cabinet.
And first of all, the comparison isn't this similar. The comparison is that, the positions that Charlie has taken for 95% of his political career, not just positions, but things that he's put into place. And everything from when he was in the state legislature, there's a reason why he was called Chain Gang Charlie, because he pushed legislation.
I understand, but I want to stay with your decisions, and you made the decision to donate to Ashley Moody's campaign over Sean Shaw, who is the Democrat. I would imagine that you think the state of Florida would be much different if Sean Shaw was currently the Attorney General than Ashley Moody, considering the lawsuits that she's filed, the steps that she's taken to sue the Biden administration and others. My guess is Sean Shaw, if he had been Attorney General, would be going to court right now trying to stop many of the things that DeSantis has been doing. So again, you decided to throw your support behind Ashley Moody. Why was that?
First of all, Jim, as everybody knows, I grew up in a household where my mom is a diehard Democrat. My dad is a diehard Republican. And I was brought up in a household where you talked about issues. You looked at different conversations and topics, and you come together for resolutions. And so it is not, it should be not asked for anybody to always be unwilling to talk to other sides, because people in America and our country want our elected officials to come together. Look what's happening in Congress and up in Washington, D.C. And the fact of the matter is that the people of our country don't want that. They want people to come together. And the decisions that I've made to support previous Republicans in the past, look what's actually gotten accomplished by that support. I was able to pass landmark legislation that gave rights to our foster care children, to give them attorneys and then funding that. The expansion of access for medical marijuana.
No, and again, but again, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I understand why you might give to Republican members of the legislature to work through that. You spent your time in government relations as a lobbyist, so I understand that need. The Attorney General position is a very different position, though.
Yep,
as the chief law enforcement officer for the state of Florida, so again, I'm asking specifically about Ashley Moody.
Absolutely.
Why did you decide to support Ashley Moody?
First of all, as you all know, I'm a diehard Gator, and I, went to undergrad. I went to law school with Ashley. So I've known Ashley since probably 1995, 1996. So we have a long-term, friendship and relationship that even spanned after law school. We both practiced law up in Jacksonville when she was at the U.S. Attorney's Office. When she first came to me, when she was running in 2018, everything that I had known about Ashley Moody was that she was impartial. She had been a sitting judge, somebody who was going to be able to weigh both sides of a conversation. And as a female, unfortunately, another disappointment that I had is when she got elected. And look, and to be quite honest, as soon as I got into the race and decided to run for Commissioner of Agriculture, I absolutely put my support behind Sean Shaw. And so that was a shift that happened. But certainly when she got into that office and didn't live up to her promises that she made to the people of our state, that it was going to be not politics inside of the Attorney General's office, and she has abandoned every single day, that promise that she made to the people of our state. So am I disappointed with her leadership, disappointed that she's become the Attorney General of Ron DeSantis and not the people of our state?
Okay, I want to move on. The governor vetoed in his budget 83 full-time equivalent positions for your department that would have investigated and reviewed concealed weapons permits, the process by which people get those permits. Those 83 positions were vetoed by the governor. In response to that, you put out a fundraising email and said, and I'm going to quote it, "It's no wonder why DeSantis denied us funding. He wants permitless carry in Florida, no matter how many lives are put at risk, and he wants to support the support of violent white supremacist insurrectionists." The governor also canceled this month's cabinet meeting, which means there's no clemency board meeting to consider restoring civil rights to individuals to give them a second chance, as well as address whatever the needs of the state may be through the cabinet process.
One, he believes that he's above it and that he doesn't need to govern with the cabinet. This is something that I've been talking about for almost 3 years now, that he believes that he is the supreme dictator of the state of Florida, and that he doesn't need the cabinet, doesn't need to share power or authority or stage. So that's first off. Second, he feels that at this point, he's already looking at Washington, D.C., and he's already looking past the state of Florida. And so why waste his time dealing with the business of our state? And especially when it comes to our clemency. You know, there are tens of thousands of people that are waiting to have their day in front of us. Some of them have waited 10, 15 years to get in front of us. And he changed the rules last year, and he's played this little shell game that he's called this an automatic change in some of the rules to give people their automatic rights back. But the reality is he's taking almost 50% of the people every single month off that automatic list and putting it back for a hearing, and yet then now canceling hearings. This is a complete dereliction of his responsibilities and duties. But this is how his MO is. Why deal with other people who may have conflicting opinions or thoughts, only going to go into safe environments and unwilling to have those debates and conversations and giving people an opportunity to actually see their leaders in action.
In October, TrueLeave acquired Harvest Health, making it basically the marijuana branch of the business that was very dominant here in Florida. I think that was like a $2.2 billion deal. You had a stake in Harvest Health. I think last year's financial disclosure forms had it at about $130 million. I'm curious, as a result of the sale, how much did you profit from that?
I didn't profit at all. In fact, from my, and I haven't really looked at the numbers. I'm a little bit too busy waiting for governor. But basically, when the merger happened, our Harvest shares merged as any other merger and acquisition happens, merged into TrueLeave. And actually, we've seen a significant loss in stocks. So I have lost a lot of money when it comes to those investments. And look, at the end of the day, we have a lot of problems in the marijuana space here in the state of Florida. You know, the fact of the matter is that we've got too many big monopolies in our state. We need to break up vertical integration. We need to be giving out more licenses, and we need to legalize. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we need to get to legalization in our state, and we need to get there for economic opportunities, for jobs, for equity, changing of our criminal justice system, expunging records. We have so much opportunity to move forward in one of these last issues that really transcends partisan politics. And that's where, as a state, we need to go. And it's unfortunate that this governor today has said never under his term as governor. So we need to get rid of him to actually start making progress on these issues and create equity and equality and give patients truly options when it comes to the medical marijuana space.